Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Meet Me in the Center. My name is Andrew. So I'm going to be talking about stuff that kind of rotates around an industry that's 18 plus here. However, I am going to be talking about it in a very PG way. That being said, I know YouTube can sometimes have problems with certain words, and so I'm going to have to be a little bit creative with how I say things. So I think most people know what OF is at this point. If you don't, think Fans of the Only and just play around with that title a little bit, you'll figure it out. I will also be talking a little bit about corn, whether that's with a C being the food or the K being the band. Just replace one of those two letters with a P. You get it. You're smart people. You know what I'm talking about here. And really, I'm talking under the entire umbrella of the adult entertainment industry. So it's not just OF or corn, but those are the two main ones. Obviously, there are certain clubs in the adult entertainment industry too that we could be talking about. But you get it. You're, like I said, you're smart people. Now, here's the problem. Actually, before I talk about that, I do want to say also, whatever choice you make, that's on you. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm not here to say to tell you that one way is bad and the other isn't. I'm not doing any of those things. I might feel personally that I think one way is better than the other, but it's really up to you what choices you make for you. But understand, when you make those choices, every choice, every action has consequences. Some of those consequences can be positive, some of them are more negative. You have to understand that going into every choice you make. A lot of the adult entertainment industry is fast, easy money, as it's called. And any job that is fast, easy money, generally speaking, in my opinion at least, you're basically gambling for short-term benefit and generally sacrificing long-term happiness. That's true of all of it. There are a lot of generally negative consequences if you work a job that's a fast, easy money route. And OF and corn and all the jobs under the adult entertainment industry umbrella are really no different to that. So there are potentially positives, like I said. There is the potential that you will make a significant amount of money. Some OF models make over $1 million a year. I'm not denying that. That being said, successful OF models, and I think they define success as anyone who makes six figures or more, only accounts for 0.1% of all models on OF. I was reading somewhere, and I don't know how current this was, but the average OF model only makes anywhere from $800 to $2,000 on a month. That's barely minimum wage from where I'm from. And the high end of that is barely minimum wage from where I'm from. So that being said, is it worth it then for that little amount of money to be sacrificing everything you're sacrificing down the road? I personally do not believe it is, but again, that's your choice to make. So what are some of the negative consequences to this? Well, so men have a preference when it comes to OF and corn stars and OF models, corn stars, and anyone else that's in that industry. Men prefer not to want to marry you. Now, this isn't true for all men, but the vast majority of men don't want to marry you. I know most podcasts talk about the successful men. I really don't want to go into that because most podcasts talk about that. So let's talk about an average man. An average man claws and scratches for any amount of power he can get in his lifetime. And generally speaking, it may take a lifetime to gather this much power, which is not a lot of power, but that's how long it takes, and that's how difficult it is for men to collect power. A woman can void that power, can get rid of that power completely in 1 second. Embarrassment can absolutely erode a man's power. Don't believe me? Look at Will Smith. We're not talking about the great actor that is Will Smith. We're not talking about stuff that, he's been in. We're not talking about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We're talking about him and what Jada Pinkett Smith has done to him. His power has been completely eroded. That's what a woman can do to you. That's why men are hesitant to marry women that have a past, because generally your past comes back to bite you at some point. A man does not want to be, grocery shopping with his wife, and some random dude come over and say, "Oh, I saw you on OF. You did this with this person," and da 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 da. That's embarrassing to that man, to that husband. So they're generally just going to stay away from that. Now, there's another problem here. Women tend to want a man that's more successful than they are. So if we're talking specifically about the successful OF models, they're not going to generally want an average man. The average man would be making less a year than they would be, and women are most happy when they're dating someone, according to studies, that make 1 1/3 generally about 1 1/3 times more than they are. That's just how it works, and it actually, to me, it makes sense, and there's a reason they have that preference. If anything happens to them where they can't work, they want to feel like they can be supported, and so the man has to make more than they do, and that's legitimate for women. Just as like you have that preference, men have the preference of not wanting a woman with a negative past, and so if you're not insecure for wanting that man to make more money than you make, a man's not insecure for not wanting his power to be eroded potentially by his significant other. So these women kind of take themselves out of the market of the average man because they don't want an average man. They want a man that makes more than them. But the men that make more than them are the super successful men, and those super successful men are never going to choose them. They have the pick of everyone, as I've said before. So they've taken themselves out of the marketplace. Because I don't want to get into this too much, but for the super successful men, if you have the choice of everyone, someone's going to be better than you, and they can pick that person. And plus, if you give most men the choice and say, I have two people, they're identical except this one works OF or this one does corn, most men are going to choose this one no matter what. Now, again, that's not everyone. I understand that this is anecdotal. I understand that my sample size is not large enough to make any sort of conclusion whatsoever. Every man I know would not date or marry a corn star, an OF model, anyone in the adult entertainment industry, myself included. It's not worth the hassle. It's not worth the risk, and generally, I can't imagine seeing or knowing that my wife is out there doing that with someone else. That's something I want to be special between me and my wife. Why would I want her doing it with someone else? Now, not every man believes like that women can't do it or shouldn't do it. Some men are okay with it if it's just solo pictures. I personally would rather just stay away from it altogether. Why do I want other men looking at my woman in such an intimate way? That's my belief on it. But there are some men that will. Some men will actually be semi-okay with it if they're involved. Yeah, there is a spectrum, but the vast majority of men, if you ask them, and they were being honest, because they'll say no. They'll say no to these women. But if you told a man, I've got 2 copies of the same woman, this one does OF or this one does corn or any of the adult entertainment, and this one doesn't, most men are going to pick this one. They just are. Again, that's a male preference. Now, there's this lie that is kind of told. I've heard it from feminists. I've heard it from corn stars. I've heard it from OF models. I've heard it from a lot of women. Men want to marry corn stars. That's the idea. That's the narrative. It's not true. It's just not true. It's easily demonstrated that it's not true. Now, men fantasize about spending a night with a corn star, but they don't want to go any further than that. They wouldn't even want generally more than one night with this corn star. So there is that, in that they would fantasize about that, but that doesn't mean that you're getting a ring, ladies. And there's this narrative with women that if a man sleeps with you, you are on the same level as that man. That is inherently not true. A man will sleep in a hole in the ground. Does that mean you're equal to the hole in the ground? Personally, no, you're not. Men don't attribute value because you slept with them. Men attribute value to you if they put a ring on your finger, if they marry you, if they want to be with you for the rest of your life. That means you have value to that man. A man can sleep with 1,000 women and not feel anything for any of those women. If we're talking about successful men, yes, they do that all the time. Obviously, the average man don't have those choices and can't really do that. But if we're talking about successful men, yes, they absolutely can, and they do. A lot of successful men these days don't settle down with a woman. If you see a successful man that settled down with a woman, it's because he settled down with a woman because before he became successful, or he was starting to become successful, and she helped him along the way. Generally speaking, if the man found success by himself, well, the woman's not really adding much value to his empire, and so why would he want to keep most women around? He could get a new model each day of the week type of thing. So, and by the way, ladies, you gave that man that power. Understand that. That's a consequence of your actions. If 80% of women are going after 20% of men, that means choice is power, ladies. And you have given those men all the choice. If you as a group, women as a group, were to say tomorrow, hey, we're not going to have sex with any guy anymore until they court us and marry us, and that's going to be it, and go way more traditional than we are now, then you're going to see marriage rates going up again. But women aren't doing that. But again, that's your choice. Why would that guy do anything else? Why would that guy settle down if he could have a new girl every night? Most guys would pick to have a new girl every night. Most guys just can't. The average guy has no power today, and that's not me complaining. I'm a very average guy. I might even be slightly under average. But that's not me complaining. That's just the reality of the situation right now. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and cry and complain over things that are happening because, well, what's the point? The best thing I can do is just try and make myself the best me I can, which I'm in the process of doing, by the way. I'm in the process of trying to, build an empire. It's not going to be huge. I'm way behind a lot of people my age, but I have started to do that, and that's what I can do at this point. I can make myself the best me I can, and hope that some woman at some point, if they're interested, is attracted to that. That's all we can really do. But yes, men generally aren't going to choose you, and they're definitely not going to generally marry you. And the ones that are, there are always simps out there. Do you really want to marry the simp? Most women want a strong, masculine man. A simp is not a strong, masculine man. They just aren't. Can't be, because they're a simp. It's kind of in the definition. And even the men that sacrifice what they believe in, do you really want that? Do you really... A man that has said, oh no, I won't date an OF model, and then it's like, I have no choice, I guess. That's the only thing I can do. Is that sexy to you? Does that idea of that guy saying, well, basically I don't want you, but you're the only thing I have, is that a turn on for you? No, for most women it wouldn't be. So yeah, men aren't going to choose you, and you can shame that preference, you can call it insecure all you want. My question to you would be, well, are you insecure for wanting a guy that's 6 foot or above? I don't think you. Well, in a sense, you are, because you're looking to someone to protect you, meaning you don't think you can protect yourself. But I would never say that. If I'm 6 foot, I'm naturally 6 foot. I'm not 5 foot and 11 inches and 3/4 or whatever. I'm actually just over 6 feet, and I know I have had women that are like, I want a 6'2" man, and I'm like, okay, well, that's not me. I don't cry and complain that they're insecure. That's just what they like. It's the same thing for guys. They don't want a woman with baggage in her past, and that's not just OF. That can be, the amount of body she's had, for instance, too. You can cry and complain about it, but that's the guy's preference. If women's preferences are okay, men's are too. And plus, you can cry about a man's preference all you want. It doesn't mean the man's going to change his preference for you. He's just not going to tell you, and he's just going to ghost you, because that's what men will do. Because we are kind of getting sick and tired of being shamed. So instead we say, oh, we're just not interested, thank you very much. If you even get that, some guys just won't respond. So on top of women, a lot of OF models and corn stars not being able to find husbands. And by the way, go on TikTok, go on Facebook, go on YouTube. There are some very famous, well-known stars that have made videos basically saying, why can't I find a good guy? Why can't I find a husband? I want to settle down now. And it's because, they've hit the wall. I hate to tell you this, ladies, this wall exists for women. It doesn't exist for men. It does to an extent, but it's something we can get over. Women tend to not be able to. Most women tend to not be able to. There are some women that are just, wired differently, but biologically, early to mid 30s, women want to settle down and have a family if they don't have one already. And there are a lot of, like I said, well-named stars that have gotten to that point in their life. They're not being hired as often because, the next set of beautiful young women have come in and they've been replaced. And so they're like, now's the perfect time to settle down. Just look at their problem. If you think, this is such a great business to be in, look at what's happening to these women. Go and check out their videos and say and listen to what they're saying. Now, admittedly, some of these videos I think are just trying to draw attention to them and kind of get more views back on them. However, I think a lot of it is not. I think some of them are being very, very genuine in those videos where they can't find a man and all they want to do is have a family. That should tell you everything you need to know. The secret's out, ladies. It's not like this is hidden anymore. Men have been talking about this for years. Even legitimate. I've even heard this on female podcasts where they're starting to talk about it. Like the women are starting to realize men are just not going to choose it, so it's not a good thing. And for the female podcasts that are like, oh no, go and do it, women empowerment and so on, are they on OF? If they are, maybe they're miserable and misery likes company. If they're not, ask them a very important question. Well, if it's so great, why aren't you doing it? They know the truth, they're just not telling you it. So I would definitely take what people like that are saying with a grain of salt. On top of that, women are complaining, OF models, corn stars, are complaining that men objectify them. I know that the narrative is that men are evil brutes and monsters and they just oppress women at every turn. But in reality, most men, there are some disgusting, horrible men out there that will, objectify any and every woman. They exist. They're horrible people. Most men will not objectify you as a woman unless you objectify yourself first. You have to open that door. And by the way, taking images or video of yourself and putting a price on that is the definition of objectifying yourself. So you open that door. You can't take their money and then objectify yourself and then complain that they objectify you. You did that to yourself. You did that to yourself before they even chose to sign up. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. And by the way, there are many, many women out there that are absolutely not objectified by men, and that's because they don't let themselves be objectified by men. So that's your choice. That comes down to your choice. So I think those are two of the big points here. In my next video, I'm gonna end this here, and in my next video, I'm going to talk about men's role in this, and I think that's an important video to talk about. So that'll be later this week. I'm not exactly sure what day, but it will be coming. So stay tuned. See you then.